Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving deep into an analysis of Rahasyamai Kuan, a truly chilling piece of folklore that takes everything we think we know about peaceful rural life and just flips it completely upside down. We are going to be exploring the dark secret of wells and looking at what this narrative actually tells us about the psychological terror of the unknown. Usually a village well is the ultimate symbol of life, right? It's where the community gathers. It's literally the lifeblood of a town. But in the story we're breaking down today, the well is, well, it's something else entirely. It acts as a conduit to something ancient, terrifying, and deeply supernatural. So I highly recommend lowering the lights for this one, because we are about to uncover the horrifying truth behind a cursed water source and the deadly, deadly price it demands from anyone who dares to get too close. Okay, picture this. Rohan. Rohan, come to me. I will show you the forest. Just imagine being a young boy visiting your grandparents' house and you wake up in the dead of night to hear this disembodied, whispering voice calling your name from the pitch-black woods. That is exactly what happens to our protagonist, Rohan. And this voice doesn't just call out once and fade away. No, it persistently tempts him. It's actively trying to lure him away from the safety of his family's courtyard straight into the unknown. It perfectly sets this incredibly eerie, atmospheric pacing for the whole narrative. It tells us right out of the gate that the danger here isn't just physical, it's psychological, and it is actively hunting. So, that chilling temptation brings us to our first major theme: rituals in the dark. In the absolute deathly silence of 12:30 a.m., desperate people actually leave their locked homes and venture out to the edge of the forest. But they definitely aren't going there to draw water. They are going there to make a bargain. The lore lays out a very specific and honestly unnatural procedure here. The story describes a figure cloaked in black approaching the well. Step 1. They drop a written slip right into the black abyss. Step 2. They throw in a personal item, in this specific case, a burning lantern, just letting the light get completely swallowed up by the darkness. And step 3, which is probably the most telling part of the whole thing, they flee, immediately, in absolute terror. They run like a massive, lethal threat is right on their heels. It's such a perfect illustration that this well is a place of dark commerce. You give something to the well, but you absolutely do not stick around to see what comes up to answer you. Moving right along to Section 2, the water's revenge. Get this. The well isn't just some passive hole in the ground waiting for people to drop things into it. It is an active entity that can literally reach out into the village. Take Kalyani's story. She's this notoriously cruel mother-in-law in Chandipur village who constantly torments her daughter-in-law. The text gives us this absolutely incredible sensory nightmare. Kalyani is fast asleep, and suddenly she's jolted awake by a forceful splash of water hitting her right in the face. She gets up to see who threw it, but there's nobody there. Instead, she finds a trail of muddy water flowing all the way from the dark forest straight across her courtyard and right into her bedroom. Driven by this dreadful curiosity, she actually follows the trail back toward the woods. But before she can turn around, an invisible force grabs her leg. Her screams just echo into the night as she gets dragged all the way to the well and pulled deep into the earth. The well literally reached into her home and took her. It's a twisted agent of revenge. Which leads us into Section 3, the Forbidden Forest Well. To really understand this hidden terror, we have to follow young Rohan to his grandparents' village of Sarurpur. From the moment he arrives, there is this heavy, unspoken tension. His grandfather flat out refuses to show him the forest, and the reason is clear. While a normal village well brings life and a sense of calm, this forest well is the exact opposite. The source material mentions that even in the middle of blistering summer heat, the air right around this well radiates a freezing, unnatural cold. And there are no comforting nature sounds either. No splashing water, no birds. The whole area is just enveloped in this eerie, oppressive silence. It physically repels anything natural. In fact, when Rohan tries to wander into the forest by himself at dusk, he's intercepted by an older man from the village. The guy literally stops him in his tracks and tells him, "Our village well is no ordinary well. Even youths and the elderly don't dare go near it." This is huge because it proves the locals are totally aware of the danger. It's an open secret. They know for a fact that the well is a conduit for dark magic, and they know it extracts a heavy, terrible toll from anyone foolish enough to get close. All right, Section 4, Chandrawati's terrifying bargain. So what happens when someone's desperation actually outweighs their fear of the well? We see exactly what happens with Chandrawati. Her husband, Ramesh, falls mysteriously and incredibly ill. The local traditional doctor throws everything he has at it, but Ramesh's condition just plummets, pushing Chandrawati to the absolute edge. By morning, Ramesh is vomiting blood. By the afternoon, he's terminal. He collapses, and the doctor is horrified to see the guy's eyes actually glowing a terrifying red. He declares him totally beyond saving. But then comes midnight. Rohan is out sneaking around the forest, and he witnesses a cloaked woman, who we can definitely infer is Chandrawati, performing the ritual. She throws prescription glasses and a burning lantern right into the freezing abyss. And the very next morning, the village headman and the doctor show up at Ramesh's house, expecting to plan a funeral, only to find Ramesh sitting in his courtyard, completely and miraculously cured. But here's the catch. It wasn't a divine miracle. It was a dark transaction. The narrative gives us this masterclass in subtle horror right here. As the headman, the doctor, and Rohan's grandfather are standing there completely stunned, someone points up at the doorframe. Hanging right there is a maki, an earthen pot. Now, in the context of this specific village's lore, that maki is a horrifying symbol. It's undeniable proof that a dark pact was made. Chandrawati traded something unspeakable to the entities in the well to buy her husband's life back. And the village elders are absolutely terrified because they know the golden rule of the forest. When you invite that kind of dark magic in, everybody pays the price. And that takes us to our final section, the lingering curse. By tapping into the well's power, Chandrawati didn't just save Ramesh. She shattered the barrier between the village and the dark entities in the forest. And now, there's a permanent shadow of fear hanging over the entire community. Their new reality is just bleak. The second the sun sets, the streets are instantly and completely abandoned. Villagers are literally barricading themselves inside their houses out of sheer paranoia. The only people left outside are groups of men patrolling the pitch-black streets, tightly clutching protective knots of turmeric to ward off whatever is out there. If anyone is caught wandering around, they are immediately grabbed and escorted away from the shadows. They are basically living in a state of permanent lockdown, absolutely terrified of the forces Chandrawati invited into their world. So as we wrap up our analysis of this explainer today, I want you to consider this final, super provocative thought. What exactly did Chandrawati trade to the well? A life for a life is usually the standard rule when dealing with dark magic. So who or what was promised to those freezing depths? And honestly, the scariest part? At the very end of the text, young Rohan is still hearing that disembodied voice calling out to him, "Rohan, Rohan, come to me." The well is clearly still hungry, and its secret remains hidden. So, is Rohan destined to be the forest well's next victim? I'll let you sit with that chilling thought. Thanks for joining me to break this down, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.